Today we are going to learn about the anatomy of human reproductive system. What is reproduction? Reproduction is the process of producing new individual organisms for the propagation of the species. That means producing a new generation in order to ensure the survival of that species on the earth. The production of gametes takes place within the gonads through a process known as gametogenesis. Gametes are the reproductive cells. The female reproductive cells are called egg or ovum, and the male reproductive cell is called the sperm. Gonads is the place or the organ where they form these cells, and this process is known as gametogenesis. As it is a production process, we call it genesis. So the genesis is the gametes, so we call it gametogenesis. Gametogenesis occurs when germ cells undergo meiosis to split the normal diploid number of chromosomes into haploid cells containing only 23 chromosomes. That means during gametogenesis, meiosis division occurs. Therefore, the total number of chromosomes, or 46 number, is divided into 2 in each gamete. So, they are called haploid cells. In order to produce a new organism, fertilization should happen. Fertilization is the union of an egg with the sperm. So, it results a zygote cell. This fertilization occurs in the ampulla or fallopian tube of female reproductive system. So as we know, these two types of gametes are produced in two types of bodies. The ovum or the egg is produced in female reproductive system, and the sperm is produced in the male reproductive system. But in order to create new organism, these two should get together. Therefore, there should be a method for the male to introduce the sperms into female's reproductive tract. So, that process is called sexual intercourse. What are the main functions of the reproductive system? The main function is production of gametes or reproductive cells, fertilization, and also development and nourishment of the new organism, and other than that, production of reproductive hormones. First, we are going to talk about the male reproductive system. What are the components of male reproductive system? The major organ is testis, where the gametes or the sperms are produced. Then it is associated with a duct system, which transports sperm from testis to outer environment. This duct system contains Epididymis, Ductus Deferens, and a urethra. And also, there are some accessory organs which secrete some secretions into this duct system, such as seminal vesicles, prostate gland, vulvourethral gland. These secretions contain hormones and nourishment to sperms. Other than that, the male reproductive system contains two external genitalia called penis and scrotum. This is an image which gives you the external genitalia as well as internal genitalia of male reproductive system. What are the functions of male reproductive system? The main function is spermatogenesis, that is the process of production of sperms. And also it is important to store and transport of sperms. And sperms and other fluidic components get together and produce seminal fluid. And male reproductive system is also important for the process called copulation. That is the transfer of sperms into female body. And also it is important for the production of male reproductive hormones. First, we will see about the testis. It is located in the scrotum. Each testis is an oval structure and they are covered by tunica albuginea. When the term tunica is there, we know it is a covering. Tunica albuginea get into the substance of testis and gives rise to septa or partitions. Therefore, each testis divides into lobules. In this picture, you can see the lobules. There are about 120 lobules in each testis. In each lobule, there are 1 to 4 tiny tubules called seminiferous tubules. Each seminiferous tubules converge or they get together to a single point and form single straight tubule. This single straight tubule then leads into reed testis. Reed testis is a network of tiny tubules. So this reed testis give rise to short efferent ducts which then exist at the testis. The seminiferous tubules are the location where the meiosis occurs. They produce male gametes by the process spermatogenesis. The epithelium of these tubules contain some cells called Sertoli cells. They are columnar cells which gives rise to sperms. In seminiferous tubules, there are spermatogenic stem cells. They give rise to sperm in a series of events. In the initial steps of these events, a type of cells called spermatogonia undergoes mitosis and form spermatocytes. Then, spermatocytes undergo meiosis and form spermatids. These spermatids then convert into sperms, and this process is called spermiogenesis. There in the testes, between these seminiferous tubules, we can see some interstitial cells called Leydig cells. These Leydig cells are involved in production of male sex hormones. In this picture, you can see the location of Leydig cells. Now let's see about the scrotum. It is a part of external genitalia of male reproductive system. Scrotum consists of skin and subcutaneous tissue. There is a vertical septum of subcutaneous tissue which divides the scrotum into two right and left parts. Each part contains one testis. The scrotum is connected with the abdominopelvic cavity through a specific tube called spermatic cord. Because of that, the peritoneum that lines the abdominopelvic cavity comes through this spermatic cord and encloses each testis in the scrotum. This layer is called tunica vaginalis. Therefore, each testis is enclosed by the tunica vaginalis, which is a continuation of the peritoneum that lines the abdominopelvic cavity. And within that, a fibrous capsule covers each testis, which is called tunica albuginea. So the spermatic cord takes the ductus deferens from testes into the abdominopelvic cavity. And also it contains testicular artery, veins, lymph vessels, nerves, and other muscles and connective tissues. This picture will give you the idea how the spermatic cord is formed. In the dermis of the scrotum, there is a thin layer of smooth muscles which is known as dartos muscle. The contraction of dartos muscle is involved in wrinkling of the skin of the scrotum. There is another layer of skeletal muscles in scrotum wall, that is cremaster muscles, which is a thicker layer of skeletal muscles and which is involved in lowering and raising the testes based on the environment temperature. This is important for the protection of sperms which are in the testes during high temperatures. Epididymis is another important part of the male reproductive system. It is a part of the duct system. It is a very long tube, about 6 meters. It is located along the superior and posterior margins of the testis. It is divided into head, body, and tail of epididymis. It is important for the storage as well as maturation of the sperms. And its head joins the ductus deferens which comes from the reed testis. The sperms that leave the testes are immature. Therefore, they are incapable of fertilizing an ovum. They complete their maturation and become fertile as they move through the epididymis. That's why it is so long, because it should give time to mature these sperms. Mature sperms are stored in the lower portion of the epididymis or the tail of the epididymis. When we are talking about the duct system of the male reproductive system, the sperm cells pass through a series of ducts to reach the outside of the body from testes. So, after they leave the testes, the sperm passes through the epididymis, then through the ductus deferens, and then ejaculatory duct, and finally enters urethra. Ductus deferens, or we also call it vas deferens. It is a fibromuscular tube that is continuous with the epididymis. It enters abdominopelvic cavity through spermatic cord. The ductus deferens passes along the lateral pelvic wall, behind the bladder and towards the prostate gland. Just before it reaches the prostate gland, each ductus deferens enlarges to form an organ called ampulla. The sperms are stored in the proximal portion of the ductus deferens near the epididymis. This picture gives the pathway of ductus deferens. This is the end of the first part of this lecture. So this is the continuation of the anatomy of male reproductive system. The next part of the duct system is the ejaculatory duct. Let's see how it is formed. Each ductus deferens at the ampulla joins with the duct of each seminal vesicles and form a short ejaculatory duct. Each ejaculatory duct passes through the prostate gland and then empties or opens into the urethra. This picture shows how this ejaculatory duct is formed. The next part of the duct system is the urethra. The urethra of male reproductive system is somewhat long. It starts from the urinary bladder and it extends up to external urethral orifice or the external urethral opening, which is located at the tip of the penis. Urethra is the passage for sperms and the fluid which are produced in the reproductive system, as well as urine which are produced in urinary system. Urethra of male reproductive system can be divided into three regions: the prostatic urethra, the membranous urethra, and penile urethra. The prostatic urethra is the part which lies within the prostatic gland, and the penile urethra is the part which lies in the penis. It is also called spongy urethra or cavernous urethra. Membranous urethra is the part which connects the prostatic urethra and penile urethra together. Let's see about the accessory glands of male reproductive system. The seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and the bulbourethral gland are the accessory glands. These glands secrete fluid that enter into urethra. Seminal vesicles are the glands which located posterior to the urinary bladder. Each has a short duct that joins with the ductus deferens at the ampulla and form the ejaculatory duct. Then the ejaculatory duct empty into or open into the urethra. The fluid which is secreted by seminal vesicles is viscous and also contain fructose, prostaglandins and proteins. It is important for the nourishment of the sperms. So here you can see the location of seminal vesicle. Prostate or the prostate gland is a firm, dense structure which is located just inferior to the urinary bladder. As the urethra leaves the urinary bladder, the prostate gland surrounds it. Numerous short ducts come from prostate gland and open into prostatic urethra. The secretions of prostate gland are thin, milky colored and alkaline. As it is a thin secretion, the main function is to enhance the motility of the sperm. In this picture, you can see the location of prostate gland. The bulbourethral gland or Cowper's gland. It is a small, which is about the size of a peanut, is located near the base of the penis. So you can see the location of bulbourethral gland in the picture. A short duct from each gland enters the proximal end of the penile urethra. In response to sexual stimulation, the bulbourethral glands secrete an alkaline mucus-like fluid. Seminal fluid or semen. It is a slightly alkaline mixture of sperm cells and the secretions from accessory gland. But most of the volume is formed by the secretions from seminal vesicles and prostate gland. The sperms and the bulbourethral secretions only contribute a very small volume. There are between 50 to 150 million sperms per 1 milliliter of semen. Clinically, the sperm counts below 10 to 20 million per 1 milliliter usually present fertility problems. Penis. It is a part of the external genitalia of male reproductive system. It is a cylindrical, pendant organ which is located anterior to the scrotum. And the main function is the transfer of sperm to the female vagina. Let's see the anatomy of penis. It consists of 3 columns of erectile tissues that are wrapped in connective tissues and also covered with the skin. There are 2 dorsal columns which are called corpora cavernosa and a single midline ventral column which surrounds the urethra. It is called corpus spongiosum. The penis has 3 parts, a root, body or shaft, and the glans penis. The root of the penis attached to the pubic arch, and the body or the shaft is the visible pendant portion. The corpus spongiosum expands at the distal end to form the glans penis. The urethra, which extend throughout the length of the corpus spongiosum, opens through the external urethral orifice or urethral opening at the tip of the glans penis. A loose fold of skin, which is called prepuce or the foreskin, covers the gland penis. This picture will give you a clear idea about the anatomy of the penis. Erection of the penis involves increase in length, width, and the firmness of the penis. It occurs due to changes in blood supply. Arterioles become dilated while the veins become constricted. Therefore, the spongy erectile tissue fills with blood and it increases in length, width, and form. Clinically, the erectile dysfunction is also known as impotence. Let's see how hormones control testicular function. At puberty, gonadotrophin-releasing hormone from hypothalamus stimulates cells in the anterior pituitary gland in order to produce luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. The luteinizing hormone stimulates cells in the testes to produce testosterone, while the follicle stimulating hormone stimulates spermatogenesis. This is how male reproductive hormones act in your body. Please go through this image carefully. Here I am going to give you the series of events which happen during spermatogenesis. Sperms are produced within the seminiferous tubules. Early in embryonic development, primordial germ cells enter the testes and differentiate into spermatogonia. Spermatogonia are diploid cells with 46 chromosomes located around the periphery of the seminiferous tubules. At puberty, hormones stimulate these cells to begin dividing by mitosis. Some remains at the periphery as spermatogonia. Others become primary spermatocytes. Because they are produced by mitosis, primary spermatocytes like spermatogonia are diploid and have 46 chromosomes. Then spermatocytes divide by meiosis and form spermatids with 23 chromosomes. Then these spermatids gradually convert into sperms, and this process is called spermiogenesis. This image gives the idea about the overall process of spermatogenesis. You don't have to remember all the details, just get an idea. Then the sperms are released into the lumen of the seminiferous tubules and leave the testes. Then they enter the epididymis, where they undergo their final maturation and become capable of fertilizing a female gamete. Sperm production begins at puberty and it continues throughout the life of a male. The entire process, beginning with a primary spermatocyte, takes about 74 days. After ejaculation, the sperm can live for about 48 hours in the female reproductive tract. When we are talking about the anatomy of a sperm, it has three major regions: head, midpiece, and tail. The head contains DNA and has a helmet-like acrosome which contain hydrolytic enzymes which allow the sperm to penetrate and enter the egg. The midpiece contains mitochondria spiraled around the tail filaments. The tail is a typical flagellum which produced by a centriole. Sperms are produced in seminiferous tubules of testes and then stored in epididymis and become matured, then transported through epididymis by rhythmic peristaltic contractions as they get mature. This is the route of sperm movement from testes to the outer environment. It comes from epididymis to vas deferens and then ejaculatory duct, prostate, prostatic urethra, membranous urethra, and finally penile urethra. So this is the end of male reproductive system. In next lecture we will learn about the anatomy of female reproductive system.